Everybody talked about one thing: less is more. We cannot deal with so many films. We haven't the capacity. Because the interesting thing is that if we have gone further back in history, we could see that it's been a dramatic rise in the number of films released in movie theaters, but it's not been the same rise when it comes to capacity.
Would you say that there is a specific need for support for theatres to bring back the audiences? You mentioned, Chris, the need to have more European films in programmation in theatres. Would you agree? Is there a need for support for cinemas in local areas, in rural areas? How do you see it, Tomas?
Yeah, as a principle, I will say I'm pro support to exhibitors, to movie theaters. I think depending on what type of political system you have, it's a question what level should give that support. Because I will say in certain countries you will probably find quite strong local support from municipalities and cities, and that's, for instance, the case in Sweden. It's much more important with the local support than it's from national and or regional level, and that doesn't mean that regions shouldn't involve themselves in exhibition or the situation for movie theaters. So in principle, yes. I will say some other things if I have that I think link to this question, because when we made the first study, we interviewed 725 persons across the value chain, and we did that as a bottom-up study. So we interviewed predominantly people dependent on public funding, producers. We talked with distributors. We talked with owners of movie theaters, but of course also with broadcasters, streamers, international sales agents, etc., etc. And that was the ambition for that. In the new one, that's not really the case. But very interesting is that basically all movie theater owners we talked with, and that was quite many. And we also did some workshops with movie theater owners and also distributors. They said one thing. And it's not always the case that you want to say that on stage, but I will say it. Everybody talked about one thing: less is more. We cannot deal with so many films. We haven't the capacity. Because the interesting thing is that if we have gone further back in history, we could see that it's been a dramatic rise in the number of films released in movie theaters, but it's not been the same rise when it comes to capacity. So of course this is a very difficult situation, and it's also a difficult situation for distributors if they handle too many films, because they cannot give enough curation, enough effort into that specific film. So less is more something like, doesn't matter if you're very commercial or very art house, it's a way to address the audience better. And then of course we come back to the numbers of films that we produce in Europe with public support. And I think we will discuss that later. We will discuss that later, because I think that's also very crucial, and it's very much when we have presented and discussed this report across Europe, I can say that's predominant, at least up until perhaps early this year, that was the most discussed thing among the participants in those different events.
I would like, in very naive terms, to understand to which extent or how many films do actually rely significantly on cinema exhibition. Is it a part of the business model? Is it for exposure? Yeah.
In Spanish case, is absolutely a matter of financing, because it is completely related with the public funds. Mm-hmm. So if you don't release in theaters, you don't have access to the public funds. Mm-hmm. And that makes this year, 2022, we have 320 films produced that will that have to go to the theaters because they receive public fund, which is a big increase from before the pandemic. And your question was, is interesting, is not interesting? Yes, of course it's interesting having the varieties, the spice of life, so it's interesting. What is happening now, what I feel, I don't know, in the other countries, is that the way of programming gives a lot of noise. It's very confusing for the audience. You have one film 1 hour and then you don't have it in the rest, but next week it comes to its horizontal programming, which has really changed the perception of the audience, I feel. There's also the shortening of windows that makes that the audience feel that the less exclusivity of the film, of the cinemas. So there's kind of perception that every film that's released in the cinemas will go after to a platform. So people say, okay, I see it later. And that has become a big problem. And also that many of the author or the the audience that goes to see the art movie films or the Spanish films get confused because you see it in the programming of the film, of the cinema, but then you go and it's in another time, in another slot. And also I have to point something that I think it's very important. We haven't spoken about it. It's about the media, the press, the relationship we used to have with the press. The press also changed so much that they don't have space for the cinema information. They don't have any more. I remember producing Ken Loach films and having one whole page of a Ken Loach interview. That doesn't exist anymore. So the relationship with the audience and the knowledge of what is being shown has completely changed. You have a really short news of what happened in Cannes, really short, for maybe, if you are lucky, 24 hours. Then it moved and it's on the bottom of the page and you lost it. So I realize when I see what's going on in the cartelera, how do you say cartelera? In the what's going on cinemas, that I don't know the films that are being shown. And years before, I knew everything of the films that were shown.
I'm going to be a little bit rude, so sorry about that. But my question would be, generally speaking, when you have a success in cinemas, is it a bonus for you, or do you need it to recoup your investments? So, to both of you, to Mariela or Didar. Yeah.
Of course, when you have a success, it's a bonus, because it's a bonus in your territory and it's a bonus in terms of international.
But you do not need it from your financing plan.
It depends on your financing plan, I would say.
Yeah.
It's on the film.
Mm-hmm. What Mariela was saying also about how distribution for us is key as producers, producing cinema, film for cinema, is that, especially in France, in some other European countries, we have a pre-financing system that we are pre-selling our films, and the distributors that are our partners, one of our essential key partners, are pre-selling the films and are part of our financing plan. They're basing also, and the TV actually are pre-buying the film from us based on what the distributor thinks of the potential of our films. If we don't find any distributor willing to bet on our film and to pre-buy it, then the TV won't come. Then the regional fund won't come. And then we're stuck and we can't produce the film. So this is how important the distribution is for us, producers. So we need to be supporting each other because we will all die otherwise. We really need the distribution system to still listen to what are our problems. And of course, a lot of producers are actually putting a lot of risk on producing films, not paying themselves, and even investing in these films. And of course, if the film works, the other financier will recoup first, and then eventually the producer who has invested his own salary and overheads will maybe recoup a bit.